Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Just imagine Karen as a boss, a true mix of narcissism, arrogance, and insanity. Well, she didn't stay in that position long. More details in our first story. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Boss believes that I should have no privacy. So I work for a company that helps other upcoming companies to have all their electrical wiring and lighting, all other electrical support is provided to them. Okay, so this happened 3 years ago, and I was reminded of it. My boss had retired that time. He was a really nice person. But then came Karen. She was a total disturbance to all of coworkers and was really nosy about everything. So on to the story. One day, I was enjoying my lunch break and I was texting my wife. She was just sending me memes and I was laughing at them. Then she called me. I quickly grabbed my wireless headphones and answered. She asked if I want to go for dinner tonight at a nice restaurant. I was like, sure, no problem. So just as I finished, Karen comes along and the conversation went like this. K, whom were you talking to? Me. Does it matter? K, yes it does. I would like to know who you're talking to because as long as you're in this building, I can ask you anything and you have to answer me. And don't forget who is the boss. Me. No, I don't have to. Kay proceeds to snatch my phone. Just show it to me. Me. Nope. Locks the phone. I just reported her to HR along with others who she had done the same thing to. Well, she did get ultimately fired, but not for this reason. I assume she was fired because she was more interested in gossip and people's personal lives than doing the job she was hired to do. And our second story. The A-Hats downstairs. I used to have a noisy downstairs neighbor. After months and months of talking to them face-to-face, posting friendly requests on their door, and involving management to help with video/audio/picture support, nothing changed. So the wars began. They were the worst. They were always yelling at each other. They played music very loud at all times of the day and night. He had some kind of woodworking tool on his deck, not allowed, that was very loud. He used it daily. He did demolition derby and always had some junker he was repairing in our parking lot. She'd get into long, super loud conversations on the phone. The works. So they have this kid, maybe 2 years old, and she's as much of an a-hole as her parents. Probably, because she has to live with them. To mess with them, I did some fun things. First, I invested in some Winchester noise-canceling headphones. Then I put my refrigerator on baking sheets and it rattled loudly. I didn't notice because of the headphones, and they constantly sent building maintenance up to talk to me. It got bad enough that we were all given notices that said, fallacious maintenance request will be charged a $40 penalty. I put a bunch of coins in my dryer and put it on wrinkle-free, which keeps turning it on every few minutes. I'd activate it when I left for the day. This gave me tons of angry post-it notes from them, which I gleefully stored in a folder that I've since lost. I ran an extension cord off my deck and installed a light socket to outlet converter on their porch light. He used big old halogen lamps and never used his real light and plugged a lot of things into it, stealing their electricity. I probably saved a whole $2. F that guy. But I also took up some weightlifting workouts, and by weightlifting, I kind of mean couch dropping. When they put their kid to sleep, I dropped my couch a good 3 to 4 times in a row until the kid started crying, and then the couple started screaming again. I'd also drop it when they were asleep, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. most days, until they screamed and thumped the ceiling, and then I'd set a 15-minute alarm to remind me to do it again once they were likely asleep again. I took up gardening. I had a bunch of garden plants on my porch. I'd water them anytime he tried to use his woodworking thingy. I bought a super long hose attachment for my sink designed to be used to clean a fish tank. He'd cuss me out as water dripped and gushed onto his porch from above, and I'd just tell him, sorry bro, really dry out here, gotta keep these thirsty plants alive. They died, probably of being overwatered. I learned their routines, and I'd run all my faucets at full blast on the highest heat for a half hour before their shower time. I was on the 4th floor, them the 3rd, and we were on the edge of the property. Hot water had trouble getting to us sometimes. I also had some digital wireless headphones. Push a button and they'd cycle through frequencies until they found something, which was normally the base unit attached to your music device, but they could also pick up a landline's wireless receiver. So this is wiretapping at this point, and I'd listen to Mom B's conversations and learn all the ways she reacted to what I did. It was glorious. And sometimes she'd let slip, "Well, at least we can still do X without the effer upstairs bothering us." "Not anymore, whore." And then I'd go bother them in a new way. The car was one of the hardest things for me to deal with. He'd come home late at night with a truck and a trailer, which wasn't allowed on the lot. He'd park the truck, get into the car on the trailer, and go park the car. Then he'd come back and move the truck and leave to park the trailer. He wasn't allowed to have the trailer, and after most nights, the car would be considered derelict, dented, damaged, no glass, no street legal, etc. So I made friends with the local tow company and called them once every few weeks. Sometimes they'd grab his junker, sometimes they'd grab his truck, which he always left idling with the trailer. Hint: there's no truck with trailer parking because you're not effing allowed to have a trailer in the tiny lot. Either way, each time he got towed, he also got a bill from the landlord. I also cost them over $500 in under 6 months by reporting minor contract breaches on their part to the management. The landlord wouldn't kick them out, but they damn sure nickel and dime them to death. In the end, I renewed my lease. The months of warfare was invigorating and gave me tons of fun stories. My noise-canceling headphones blocked most of my counter sounds, and with them on and some nice quality earbuds underneath, I could hardly hear their racket anymore. Add some white noise generators, and really I was pretty much relieved of their annoyances. About 2 months into the new lease of mine, CPS took the kid away, which needed to happen. The place was abusive as F, and they got kicked out of the complex. You see, he'd taken up alcohol to calm his nerves. And our last story. Accused by psycho mom of ex-girlfriend then turns to court. Turns out ex was also insane. So this didn't actually happen to me, but one of my coworkers / fellow Marines in my unit. Joe is my coworker, fellow LCPL. Karen is crazy insane ex. Sarah is crazy insane ex's mom. We'll call him Joe. Joe's like any other Marine in the reserves. This will be very important for later, except he has this ex that he's on and off with. Mostly, he's just trying to keep her as a friend, but after a major fight between the two, he came by her house to try to mend things. He didn't exactly say what the fight was about, but it was clear something that she was doing. However, he always treated her and her family with respect. But after knocking on his ex's door and not getting an answer, he left behind a gift in the mailbox and decided to walk home. As he was about to cross the street to his house, Sarah's mother tried ramming him with her car, accusing him of all sorts of high-profile charges, such as assault, breaking and entering, etc. And that she'd call the police, but being that he just barely got home from reserve duty and getting very little sleep, thanks to not only taking on multiple watches, such as Fire Watch, where you walk around the HTC like a guard with a gun, and Radio Watch, you stay in the comms tent and report anything major happening from the radio equipment, but also for doing other stuff, such as breaking down our equipment for use of the day, as well as chow for supporting 3 firing batteries from the field. So he honestly didn't give 2 craps and told her to F off and go ahead and call the police if she was right about the charges she's throwing at him. However, the next morning, he gets a knock at the door, and officers actually were called on him and he was detained. The officers were respectful, and he didn't give them any reason to make them suspicious of him at all. However, when he was brought to court, the judge honestly wasn't there at all. And despite no evidence proving the charges, Sarah has said, despite them being false accusations and contradicting testimony, the judge decided to give him a deal after learning that he was a Marine. A very crappy one at that. But he didn't know how crappy it was going to be until he found out what it was. Therapy. Appointments required by psychiatrists, courses, and the list goes on, and it had come out of his own pocket. He was basically given what Sarah wanted, him suffering financially. He then talked to a lawyer because immediately everything was nothing but BS. The lawyer then helped him out by pointing out all the contradictory evidence, testimony, and statements from many interactions between Karen and Joe. They went to court but had to get a different judge because he had the same one on one court hearing and didn't bother hearing his case. But with a new judge, after looking over the evidence presented and how Joe's statements and testimony ended up destroying the false charges and proving that the false accusations were fabricated with malice and malicious intent, which is a big no-no in court, so Sarah and Karen had no choice but to settle. And Joe didn't need to go to those stupid unnecessary classes anymore and was compensated for damages. But what Joe didn't know was that Karen was in on it, as no one suspected that she had involvement and thought it was just Sarah doing what she thinks is good for her grown daughter. All thanks to one little statement after the new judge had sentenced. Here's how the entire thing went. Karen: well, he added me on Snapchat and threatened me and was harassing me and threatened to do me harm. Judge, sighs in annoyance: and why was this not in your written statements and evidence? Karen: because Snapchat deletes it after 5 minutes of it being posted. Joe's lawyer: Your Honor, we actually have real-time evidence that he never added her on Snapchat or even said what she's saying. Any reasonable person could have taken a screenshot of it and presented it to the court if it was true. Judge: if you're correct, then why don't we have it in the record? Karen: because Snapchat deletes it after 5 minutes. Judge: I believe that any reasonable person would have took a screenshot of it if it was true. My sentence is final. So yeah, that's how that went. Joe saves money, he has his reputation and self-confidence back, and I've never seen a happier Marine in my unit than drill duty when he said he won his case. But on a serious note, guys, remember this ancient Chinese proverb: never stick your D in crazy. I hope that other judge got a lesson, because he basically ignored Joe and went with the ladies in this situation, which is not justice whatsoever. I'm glad it got sorted in the end. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.